A racist Karen falsely accuses me of stealing my car while I was changing a flat tire and nearly gets me killed. Here's what happened. Subscribe to You're the Jerk for more crazy stories. So, this took place 3 years ago. Back then, I was a 22-year-old black male, and the day of this incident was my birthday. That day was my worst birthday ever. So, I was driving home from work, and all of a sudden, my left front tire goes flat. No big deal, right? I pull over to the side of the road, get my spare tire and tools out of the trunk, and start to change it. But then, I hear this woman's voice behind me. At first, I didn't even realize she was talking to me until she starts screaming at me. "Hello? You bad word. What the F do you think you're doing?" I turn around and see this woman who looks like she's high as a kite staring at me like I'm some kind of mistake. "Excuse me? He's stealing that car!" she screams, looking for attention from the traffic around her. "This is my car, you asshat." "Oh really, you racial word?" she says. "It looks to me like you're trying to steal that car." "Bitch, I'm not trying to steal anything. I'm trying to change my tire, you drug addict." Maybe I shouldn't have said that last part because that one word seems to agitate her very badly. She starts yelling at me and threatening to call the police. Spoiler alert, she actually does call the police. I try to calm her down and explain the situation, but she's completely unreasonable. "Look at you standing there with your dirty black hands and your trashy clothes. You can't afford anything like this. You think you can just come and take what you want from honest, hardworking Americans?" I can't believe this woman's ignorance. I try to reason with her and explain that I'm a law-abiding citizen who just happened to get a flat tire on my way home. But my aggressive side came out and I decided to scream and scare her off. I'd rather not say what I did here, but let's just say this lady was shitting her pants. She just keeps screaming and shouting and threatening to call the police. At this point, I was starting to feel pretty desperate. I don't want to get arrested or cause any more of a scene, so I decided to try to reason with her and explain the situation again. But she's completely unreasonable, because she's definitely high on something, and calls the police anyway. At this point, I was trying to speed run my wheel swap, but I just couldn't do it in time. I just wanted to dip. Cops are so unreliable. It took about 10 minutes, which felt like an eternity, for the police to arrive. When they did, they've had their guns drawn. All three of them were pointing guns at me. I was literally about to faint or do something stupid, but I tried my best to stay calm. I put my hands up and tried to explain the situation to them, but they were skeptical. They kept asking me questions and trying to trip me up. That piece of shit woman was standing there with her arms crossed and had a devilish grin on her face. "I can't believe this, dog. Why the fuck are you pointing guns at me? I'm innocent," I screamed at the cops. "I'm just trying to change my tire, and this bitch is accusing me of stealing my car." "Well, she did say you had a gun," one of the officers says. "What?" At this point, I was so shocked. What the fuck? Like, literally, what the fuck? I don't have a gun. I don't even own a gun. The woman chimed in and said, "I saw it. He's hiding it," she says. "He pulled it out and pointed it at me. That's why I called you guys." I can't believe the sheer audacity of this woman's lies. I'm terrified, and I can feel the sweat starting to bead on my forehead. All I want is to be able to change my tire and go home. But instead, I was thrown against the boot of my car and was handcuffed. The police did a thorough search through my car, searching for the gun that Karen had falsely accused me of having. But of course, they didn't find anything because, like I said, I don't own a gun. As the situation escalated, I began to fear for my life. If I did one wrong move, I could have died. That thought of me dying just played on repeat in my head. This was not the first time I had experienced racism, but it was definitely one of the most traumatizing. I couldn't understand why that woman was so determined to paint me as a criminal. There's zero chance she can get away with this. It was clear that she's brainwashed, and those drugs she's on are making it worse. After about 20 minutes of chaos, the police finally realized that I was telling the truth, because they ran the plates on the car and that Karen was just waffling. They made her take a breath test, and it was obvious she was high and was up to no good. They apologized and arrested Karen for filing a false police report, hate crime, and drug possession. I was able to prove my innocence and that never pulled a gun, and had no intention of doing any mischief. I don't understand how my birthday turned this shit. All I wanted was to change my tire and go home, but instead I was met with accusations and threats. Karen ended up going to jail for 3 years, if I recall correctly, and I was paid a little over $5,000 for this experience, which was definitely not enough. I couldn't shake off the fear and trauma that I had experienced. I just honestly can't believe that I had been put in such a dangerous situation. It made me feel like I was living in a country where I wasn't truly free or safe. Like, come on, this is the USA, the land of opportunity. I'm really considering moving out of here. Like, is a US citizenship even worth it anymore if your life is just a number on a statistic? Something really has to change. Wow, OP's story is really messed up. I can't believe this lady. I can't believe this actual piece of trash had the audacity to falsely accuse someone of stealing their own car while they were just trying to change a flat tire. And on top of that, she had the cops pointing their guns at the OP and even accused him of having a gun when he didn't even own one. Like, that's some straight-up unacceptable behavior. It's scary to think that stuff like this still happens nowadays, and I really hope the OP is doing well now. Like, this stuff isn't even a joke. It happens way too often, and this system really needs a change. An entitled dad falsely accuses me of pretending to have an injury in order to get high on pain medication and then physically attacks me. Yep, here's what happened. So, some backstory. I had just left the hospital about a week or so ago due to really bad pain behind my knee. So bad that I couldn't sit, stand fully upright, walk, lay down, nor bend or fully straighten my leg. It came out of nowhere and got progressively worse every day that I ended up bedridden for 2 weeks. Also, to note that even though the summer heat is coming to an end where I live, I drank plenty of cold water to the point where I'd have to get up every hour to use the bathroom throughout the day. The pain was so bad that I would lose the urge and would just lay in bed all day, not even wanting to get up to eat or pee because it was so bad and sensitive to the touch that any movement would make me wince. Doctors were baffled, so there was a CT scan and an MRI done, as well as bringing in an oncologist, because I had a large mass of fat behind my leg, a tumor about the size of a football. Hearing oncologist almost brought me to tears as I feared for the worst. It turns out what I thought was a really bad cramp was actually torn tendons and ligaments in my leg. I hadn't fallen or hit my leg against anything, which is what confused everyone. And the large mass was just a fatty tumor. Nothing too serious according to the doctors and surgeon. No operation was done. It's not cancerous. And I was told in a few weeks the swelling would go down and my leg should heal naturally. I've been using a walker since discharge, and just recently the pain is much more tolerable, that I no longer need it. But still use a walking cane because there's still a chance I could fall, and I won't risk it for a biscuit. Now that that's out of the way, on to the story. I've been given hydrocodone upon discharge for the pain, but only for 3 days as it's pretty strong and one could possibly get addicted. So I've been taking Tylenol after my meds ran out, as it's the strongest OTC medicine I could get. I have to keep my leg either very still while laying down or constantly moving it, i.e. walking, as it hurts if I stand still for too long. This incident happened 2 days ago. Instead of sitting at home doing leg exercises in bed and waiting for my dad to go bring me pain meds, I decided to go with him to keep myself moving, hoping it would help me. Plus, spend more quality time with him. We've had an on and off bumpy relationship. So we head to the pharmacy, and once we're there, I decided I also wanted some jacket snacks. I informed my dad about this, and so he doesn't have to slowly follow me around, I suggest he go out and get some quick groceries at the supermarket across the street. He agrees, and we go about our separate ways for a while. I go around with a basket and pick my stuff up along with pain meds, taking my time, then head to the counter up front. This is where the entitled dad and his son come into play. The son was quiet the entire time, didn't say a word. As I'm standing in line, I put my basket down next to me and hold on to my cane. As mentioned before, it hurts to stay standing still for too long, and my hands start to wobble a bit as I'm struggling. ED is behind me in line and makes a snide remark about me struggling to stand, saying how I should quit being a drama queen. You can wait. I turn to him and glare for a few seconds before replying, I have a bad leg. I can't stand for too long, in a deep, irritated tone before turning away. As I do, this man has the absolute nerve to walk over, pick up my basket, and start rummaging through my items. I turn and demand loudly, put down my basket now. To ensure I grab other people's attention, he scoffs and hands it to his son, who's about maybe 6 years old and carrying their own basket, and keeps rummaging, picking out and commenting on my snacks, and gets to my pain meds. What are you, some sort of junkie? What's with all the painkillers? You're getting off on these, aren't you? There's only 3 other people in line who are either staring or trying not to get involved. I ignore his question and ask for my basket back. This angers ED, and he asks again in a much louder voice, You're getting off on these, aren't you? As he throws the stuff back into the basket. I'm almost up to the counter next, but I walk a bit closer as my leg was now starting to feel a bit stiff and ask once again for my basket. ED shouts, Fine, and as I hold my hand out to grab it, he, instead of handing it to me, throws it forward towards me. I'm only 5'7", and this man was about 6 foot something. Pretty tall guy, and threw it at chest height as if tossing a basketball. So basically, he tossed it at my head. I put my hands up not to catch it, but to block it from hitting me in the face. As soon as it hit me, I was knocked backwards, stumbling with my leg in pain from the sudden movement, as I tried to catch my balance or grab onto something, anything, so I wouldn't hit the floor. If I had fallen against the counter, it would have been much better, as I'd still be standing. But I fell straight on my butt and onto my back. The rope around my wrist for my cane, coupled with momentum, made the cane spin back, and I landed on it with my right arm. I can't tell you how much I screamed and cried in agony as I fell and lay there, trying to move my body to my right side. I can't even sit down normally without pain, and have to lean most of my body to the right whenever I sit down on the toilet seat, at the dinner table, or even sitting upright on my soft mattress. Any weight or pressure on my leg makes it hurt, and it's uncomfortable and gives me backaches. So landing hard straight down was absolute hell. The other customers, as well as the cashier and store manager, started shouting at the guy while trying to help me up. I declined, wanting to stay on the floor as it'd be much better than if I was sitting or standing, and demanded loudly for the cops to be called and to not let the man go, as I was sure as shit going to be pressing charges. ED doubles down and shouts back at everyone else. I mean, look at him, he's exaggerating. He's not hurt. Look at all these pain meds, walks to my basket, and takes out my stuff I'm buying. He's probably getting high off these. How in the F? No one person needs this many Tylenol, he's an addict. He doesn't even need this. He proceeds to kick my cane away, but the strap is still around my wrist. It's all fake. It's an act. As he's finishing his stupid speech, his voice is starting to shake as I'm guessing he's realized he's not gonna win this one. He goes and grabs his son's hand, puts his basket down, and tries to speed walk out of the store, muttering something along the lines of, "Come on, son's name, we don't need this. We'll go to another store." But one customer blocks his path, as well as the manager who's already on the phone with the dispatcher and saying officers are on their way. Upon hearing this, ED bolts, dragging his kid along, and shoves the customer blocking his path into the metal detector near the entrance. ED stumbles as a woman with her child in a stroller starts to walk in. ED is dancing left to right, trying to get past the woman who's now just standing there confused as to what's happening. The shoved customer gets back on his feet, runs up to ED, spins him around 180 degrees, and tackles him to the floor, keeping him pinned. Fast forward to my dad coming back and asking what the hell happened. I explained, as well as the other customers and manager. Police arrive after a while and everyone starts to explain what happened. Statement was given, charges were pressed, and the ED was taken into cuffs to the back seat of a squad car. His son stayed behind and would be picked up by his aunt. The only thing he said was, "I'm sorry," before we left. I can totally understand why the OP would be so frustrated in this situation. It's not cool for that entitled dad to just go through their stuff and make rude comments about them struggling to stand. And then to question if the OP even needs their meds? That's just disrespectful and shows a lack of empathy. It's a good thing the OP stood up for themselves and got their basket back, unlike OP in this story, where a Karen and her kid steal OP's tablet and destroys it when he catches him. Yep, that's the video on screen right now.